Hello, I'm MICHELLECPOWERS, and you are watching a special edition of Currents News. Many of the shuttered churches in the Diocese of Brooklyn are now open, inviting all to come for private prayer. But there are precautions and a lot of yellow tape, and there's also a lot of memories of parishioners lost, the story of priests and their communities memorializing loved ones in an effort to take that first step forward. Plus a look into the life of George Floyd, the Minneapolis man who died after an encounter with police. It's all under investigation, but his fiancée wants everyone to know she considers him a man of God. And could the silver lining to this pandemic be a baby boom? What pro-life advocates are doing to get ready for the possible blessing. See it all on Currents News, Special Edition.
Church opened, I could not resist. It drew me to come, and now I feel what I used to feel.
A long-awaited moment. Some church doors are open again in the Diocese of Brooklyn, and with them, parishioners' hearts. Though many churches have reopened, restrictions are in place. After being closed for months, parishes are taking every precaution to ensure the health and safety of their people. Starting this week, church life was renewed across the diocese on a case-by-case basis. Currents News' Emily Druby has a story.
Inside St. Patrick's Church in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, longtime parishioner SHIRLEY BERKOWITZ prayed.
When I first walked in, it was overwhelming, the bigness of it, and then to see the altar.
She's one of the first to be able to do so since the pandemic caused the closure of churches in March. The Diocese of Brooklyn began phase 1 of its reopening plan on Tuesday, May 26th.
The church opened, I could not resist. It drew me to come, and now I feel what I used to feel, and it is wonderful.
Clergy thrilled to reopen, but also cautious.
It's nice to be able to welcome people back into our church to pray. Their safety is our priority, so we have to go slowly and follow the directives of the diocese as well as the government as well.
Safety measures could be easily spotted. There was only one entrance. Parishioners sat far apart. The amount of people inside was limited, and masks were a must. Not all churches opened on Tuesday. About 30 in the Brooklyn Diocese decided to hold off for now.
Keep coming, keep coming.
Over in Jamaica, Queens, Presentation of the Blessed Virgin Mary Church also opened its doors for the first time in months. There was a line of parishioners waiting to get in the door for private prayer and confession, including Angel Lucero, who wanted to thank God for helping him recover from the coronavirus. Father Victor Bolaños provided the translation from Spanish.
To give thanks to God for the life He gives to me, for being able to recover from the illness.
Not all were there to pray. AUDE PIERRE only dropped by to give her tithe.
Because I'm a Catholic, I have to give my 10%. When you get something from God, you have to give something back.
Like St. Patrick's Church, Presentation of the Blessed Virgin Mary Church has strict safety procedures in place. Volunteers helped limit the amount of people inside, pews were sectioned off for social distancing, and volunteers wore full safety garb.
If we do it well, organized in an organized way, we can give them back what they need.
Emily Druby, Currents News.
You can find the list of parishes in the Diocese of Brooklyn that are not yet ready to reopen at thetablet.org. Please make sure you call your parish to check the status of your church before arriving for private prayer. And Net TV, New York's Catholic station, will continue to broadcast those live masses in 8 languages. The liturgies are on the air Sunday and throughout the week. The full schedule is listed at netny.tv. While many priests are celebrating again with their parishioners, the communities are still suffering from gigantic pain and loss. Currents News' Emily Druby tells us the grieving process is part of remembering, honoring, and moving forward.
White flags placed on the lawn outside of St. Michael's Church in Flushing, Queens, eeach one representing a member of their parish lost to the coronavirus. When done, there will be over 200. Many of those who've passed away are from nearby nursing homes. The pandemic making death a horrifying new normal for too many.
I am really overwhelmed by the pain.
The church's pastor, Monsignor John Vesey, tells us he has a big job facing him.
And I think by doing symbolic things like this, it's going to help all of us to be more mindful that we are one family.
The community of St. Michael's has experienced such a profound sense of loss. Many other churches in the Diocese of Brooklyn have been affected too. Presentation of the Blessed Virgin Mary Parish in Jamaica, Queens has candles next to the altar where they celebrate their live-streamed masses. 14, one for each parishioner, lost to the virus. The church's pastor, Father Manuel de Jesus Rodriguez, says it's a way to remember and honor those they've lost. They've also been using WhatsApp groups to reach and comfort their parishioners as they grieve the losses in their own family and in their church family. It's a difficult time for clergy, too. They've lost their friends, their parishioners, their people. Father Rodriguez says he's been leaning on faith to cope.
When Jesus is present in ourselves as the bond which unite us together and holds us together as brothers and sisters, everything becomes less painful.
From flags to candles to support groups to prayer, there's so many ways in which clergy are helping grieve those who they've lost and support those who need it. In Queens, Emily Druby, Currents News.
The FBI's civil rights investigation into the death of George Floyd continues this weekend. The Minneapolis man died after being handcuffed and pinned to the ground by a police officer restraining Floyd with his knee. The people who knew him best are calling him a gentle giant, as his fiancée is describing him as a man of God. Reg Chapman has that part of the story.
The man in the video pleading for his life was a father, a friend, and co-worker who was loved and respected by all who knew him.
My customer loved Floyd. He was a nice guy. He had a good customer service. He knew how to talk to people. He knew how to diffuse situations. And everyone respected him and they loved him.
CONGA Latina BISTRO owner JOVANNI Thunstrom says Floyd was more than just an employee. He was his best friend.
Remember, Floyd was just another black guy killed by a white police officer. Floyd was more than that. He was kind. He was helpful.
He's definitely one of the most spiritual men that I've ever come across.
Courtney Ross was Floyd's other half. She says he used to work at the Salvation Army and loved connecting with the people there.
And he even went down there when he wasn't working there to go hang out with Mad Dads and help and see the people. These are the people that most of us don't even want to look at.
Ross says Floyd moved here from Houston, Texas for a fresh start, and he loved everything that Minnesota had to offer.
He always felt like everybody got a chance here. He would tell his friends, like, come up to Minnesota, man, you can do it here. Like you can get a job and you can start fresh and this is the place to do it.
Ross doesn't want people to remember Floyd for how he died, but for what he stood for during his 46 years of life.
If he was here, he would say that he's a man of God.
That was Reg Chapman reporting. Minnesota's bishops are also calling for justice in the Floyd case. The Catholic leaders were quick to speak out about the death. They're backing these state and federal investigations that are already looking into the incident to determine exactly what happened. The Minnesota Catholic Conference, on behalf of the bishops, put out a statement saying, "This is a tragedy. People need to feel safe in their communities and have trust in law enforcement who should exercise their power in a spirit of service. If there was misconduct, hopefully justice will be done." Still to come on Currents News, should the world be expecting a baby boom? Pro-life advocates sure hope so. What they're doing to take stock. And for better or worse, are your marriage vows standing the test of this pandemic? Hear from one writer who says we all need a little faith and a lot of patience. Plus, already a knight and now a saint-to-be. Big news about the man who started the church's strong right arm.
Now you can help us put your faith in the news. The next time you capture a newsworthy event, send us your pictures or video. It's easy. Go to netny.tv/sendus and you may see your submission on Currents News.
could be coming, a baby boom with many couples locked down at home because of COVID-19. Some experts are on the lookout for a surge of newborns in the months ahead. Yet with so many people out of work, having a baby could be a huge financial strain. Currents News' Emily Druby has the story of pro-lifers hard at work to make sure families have what they need to raise a baby.
We got gel.
Chris Slattery sorts through donations for moms and newborns facing a financial strain with the mounting job losses caused by the pandemic.
We're providing many more alternatives and much more help than we've normally given.
His pro-life organization, Expectant Mother Care, has been helping mothers in need now and preparing for a potential baby boom as couples spend increasing amounts of time together at home.
There might be an increase in birth rates. And it's great. That's wonderful. You know, the church is happy that it is alive and it's growing with little ones.
Christian Rada, the director of marriage, family formation, and Respect Life education for the Diocese of Brooklyn, says support is essential to help women choose life, especially during unstable times like these.
Families are wondering, like, how can I support another person, another mouth to feed when I'm struggling to support myself?
In New York City, the unemployment rate is 22%. The city comptroller estimates another 900,000 could lose their jobs by July. And if there was a baby boom, women would either be pregnant now or very soon, meaning they would need help right away.
When the pregnancies are towards the early signs, like 12 weeks, that's pretty soon now. We're probably really around the corner. So we just want to be able to support those women right away.
Sister Magdalene Teresa is with the Sisters of Life. They've been expanding their efforts to keep up with the increased need caused by the financial hardships of the pandemic. To help, the sisters have been delivering essentials personally and creating an extensive baby registry on Amazon. Like the sisters, Slattery's organization has been doing all they can to help, distributing everything from diapers to bikes.
It offers the essential hope.
Slattery estimating they'll give out about $1 million in goods over the next 3 months, and the need is greater than ever.
We have seen a dramatic number of calls with interest in getting abortion.
This could be because of increased financial pressure of having a baby. Slattery added he could be seeing more calls because some abortion facilities have closed for the pandemic. Adding it shows just how important it is to step up for mothers during this time so they can choose life. In Manhattan, Emily Druby, Currents News.
For more information about the help that's being offered, go to emcfrontline.org. That's Chris Slattery's group. Or log on to amazon.com/baby-reg and type in the words Sisters of Life. While there's a lot of talk about corona babies, there's also talk about corona divorces. The pandemic's effect on marriage is yet to be seen, whether it's bringing couples closer together or driving them to divorce court. Christine Persichetti sat down with award-winning writer Valerie Schultz. She's been thinking a lot about the marriage vow, for better or worse. Here she is now on Sticking to Your Catholic Promises.
We seem to have found a kind of a rhythm. We seem to have our bad days on different days, so that's helpful that, you know, we can kind of tell if one of us is having one of those days where it seems like everything is crashing down, the other one becomes supportive. You save your bad day for a different day because if we both have a bad day, that's not going to be good. But I don't know, we've just sort of fallen into a rhythm that sort of a complementary relationship, but it takes practice.
Sure, that's good. You're kind of trading off days. What about for richer or poorer? Some couples are not only dealing with too much togetherness while working from home, many have lost jobs. What are your thoughts on that?
Having had a history of money problems in our younger days, I know it's an enormous stress on married couples. It's probably one of the biggest factors that'll lead to a divorce. And so in these times, it's I know the word unprecedented is overused, but it's so difficult to be dealing with financial problems, whether you can pay your bills, taking care of your kids' needs when maybe you don't know where your next paycheck is coming from. We're in a situation that my husband works for the state, so he's working from home and our income is fairly secure. But, you know, my heart goes out especially to younger couples and those with younger children that are really having to navigate this and maybe having to rely on people in a way that they've never had to before. And that is a very huge stress on a marriage, I think.
Sure, and another one is in sickness and in health. You know, what if one or both spouses have a health condition that puts them at greater risk of the virus? How do you deal with that added anxiety?
Well, it's interesting because we're an older couple. We're coming up on our 40th wedding anniversary.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. But I think, you know, things that we used to think of as health problems have become put in perspective by the virus, that, you know, things we might have rushed to the doctor to before we're just sort of home remedying now. And, you know, that is one of the biggest concerns right now. And again, especially for parents with young children, they have to make arrangements for their children if they were to get ill or, you know, figure it out on their own. And that must be very difficult and not a position I'm in right now. But.
Right. Tell me, how has your faith helped you get through all of this and stick together?
You know, I think of marriage as a sacrament, and we've always treated our marriage as a sacrament. And I think sometimes we think of marriage as a one-time sacrament, like you have it once and then it's done, like, you know, confirmation, you do that once. But marriage, I think you work on it every day. It's kind of a continuing sacrament, and it's something sacred that is greater than the sum of its parts in a way. And I think if you keep that in mind, that what you're working on together is bigger than the two of you, it's helpful.
That was Valerie Schultz, a freelance writer at America Magazine. And in the face of this pandemic, the dream of sending your children to Catholic school lives on. That's thanks to the St. Francis Prep community in Fresh Meadows, Queens. They're taking care of their own there with help from a well-known graduate. Currents News' Jessica Easthope has that story.
From the outside, St. Francis Prep looks like an ordinary high school. The people who have walked these halls are anything but.
I am so proud of our alumni and what they are doing for the current population.
Over the last few months, Brother Leonard Conway's job as president of the school has changed dramatically.
Parents saying that they were already experiencing financial difficulties because of the coronavirus.
That's when Brother Leonard made a decision that would change lives. It did for Allison.
It's a blessing that, you know, we never thought would happen.
Allison has 2 children in St. Francis Prep, and after her husband contracted the virus in March, she found herself not knowing how she would pay the $10,000 tuition to keep her kids in the school they love so much.
I reached out to Brother Leonard just to express to him, you know, how, you know, we might need a little time. My husband now is out of work. I have a business of almost 20 years that was closed down. And here we were, like in 5 weeks, our entire world had just fell apart.
Brother Leonard didn't give Allison time. Instead, he gave her something more. He told her, don't worry about it.
I said that to Brother Leonard. I said, this phone call you made to me is life-changing. And there's no way to even thank someone for that.
Born out of the need of so many prep families came the TERRIERSTAR Fund, a way to collect donations from alumni to keep children in the school, even if their parents have lost jobs or are suffering financially. Some donations came in, and then one prep graduate stepped up in a big way.
I don't want any kid not be able to return to prep in the fall because of a lack of funds. That's just not going to happen.
Julie Chen, CBS anchor and host of Big Brother, made an offer that showed she's never let go of the Franciscan values she learned at prep.
I will match every single donation. There's no cap on this.
Julie said the inspiration to help started back in her prep days.
That Good Samaritan story that I first read about and studied when I was a sophomore at St. Francis Prep has come full circle now, and that will always stay with me.
Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
And some long-awaited news this weekend. The founder of the largest Catholic fraternal organization is one step closer to sainthood. Father Michael McGivney will be beatified. He began the Knights of Columbus in 1882 to help families who lost their breadwinners. Now the order has more than 2 million members who help people around the world. But no date has been set for the beatification ceremony. Remember, the Vatican has postponed all previously scheduled beatifications. We also want to tell you about a recent big win for the Currents News team. We took home 9 awards for top-notch coverage. The honors, called the Telly Awards, recognize excellence in video and television across all screens. And Currents News got 1 gold Telly, 4 silver, and 3 bronze for our newscast, reporter stories, and social media videos. We also won a People's Telly Award, receiving the most votes for one of our broadcasts. So to the producers, directors, editors, reporters, and photographers, a thank you to you for your hard work. And when we come back on Currents News, it could be seen from space. A Times Square thank you to a DeSales employee for his out-of-this-world effort in times of need. It's a thank you that could be seen from space, but one much deserved. The Diocese of Brooklyn's COVID-19 Emergency Task Force has put in countless hours coming to the rescue of those in need throughout New York City and beyond. Now their efforts and energy have lit up the crossroads of the world. Currents News' Emily Drewby has a story from Times Square.
The DeSales Emergency Task Force honored with a billboard in Times Square.
There you go. We've been working straight through for the past 2 months nonstop, so we're being thanked.
Under the bright lights, task force members watched as their name was projected high above the crossroads of the world, surrounded by the names of other groups who have also been fighting on the front lines of the global pandemic. There was another bright light in Times Square Wednesday night, tens of thousands of masks all on the way to churches in the Diocese of Brooklyn.
We are in this together. We want to help people. I'm really grateful to be a volunteer in this crisis and to help people who's in need.
Donated by Life Preservation Initiative, a group that's been working in tandem with the task force during the pandemic. The group was also behind the billboard and already gave the Diocese of Brooklyn 40,000 masks. Now they're giving 80,000 more, bringing the total to 120,000. They also gave 120,000 to the Salvation Army. Now these masks are essential because they allow churches in Brooklyn and Queens to open their doors.
So I think it'll help in bringing back people to our churches and making them feel comfortable when they walk into the church.
Everyone must wear a mask during phase 1 of the Brooklyn Diocese church reopening plan. Only some were brought to Times Square, the rest were picked up the next day. Throughout the pandemic, the Diocese of Brooklyn's Emergency Task Force has been working on the front lines, doing everything from bringing food to hospitals to getting beloved Brooklyn priest Father Jorge Ortiz-Goray's body back to Mexico. Getting these masks to the parishes who so desperately need them, the last pandemic task they will tackle as of now, a gesture of faith and strength. In Manhattan, Emily Drewby, Currents News.
That is Currents News. I'm Michelle Powers. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Be sure to join Christine Persichetti every weeknight at 7. We leave you this weekend with a look at the real presence. Church doors are open again in Brooklyn and Queens. Though many parishes may look different, covered in tape, our faith and the presence of Christ in our lives will always remain the same.